Hi, it's Maya here, and it's time for the mid-year book freakout tag. And as you may know, that means that it is also my BookTube channel anniversary because it is July. I have been on BookTube for 8 years, and it's sort of a tradition now that I do the mid-year book freakout tag to celebrate. I will link the creators in the description, and let's get right into it. The first question is the best book you have read so far in 2022, and for me that is The Curse of Chalion by Lois McMaster Bujold. This is a political intrigue book that I found myself really enjoying. It had like fantastical elements with talk of demons and gods, but it mostly focused on this one man in his 30s who returns from his time of trials back to the place where he lived as a young man and is assigned to be the tutor for like the heiress or a princess of the country. And with that, he gets drawn into the capital of Chalion and into the plots of people who want power, and some parts of his history also get entangled in this. And I liked how the main character had the best interests of the princess truly in mind all the time. And I sort of think that people who enjoy Robin Hobb's pacing would really enjoy trying out this book, at least with people who have read the Farseer trilogy. The next question is the best sequel you read so far in 2022, and that is Storm Song by C.L. Polk. I read the whole Kingston cycle this year, and the second book, Storm Song, was my favorite. This series deals with some hard-hitting topics. There was one element that I didn't care for in the first book, but I really enjoyed the second book, and I also liked how the books all continued right one after the other. So when they solved something in one book, the next book would have issues arising from that. The second book dwelled a lot in politics, as well as the third book. The first book a little less. It was kind of a murder mystery thing, but it also had like the magic users of the world. They are like divided in like two castes. There are the rich people who use magic and other people don't know anything about it. And then there are the witches who are feared, who are like the regular folk who are thrown into asylums. And I'd also want to mention When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Nivo, which is the second in the Singing Hills, if I remember correctly, series. So the first book was The Empress of Southern Fortune, which I liked, but this one was so good. It was just the main character telling a story to tigers. Next question is new release you haven't read yet but want to, and I would say The Grief of Stones by Catherine Addison, but I still haven't read The Witness for the Dead, and The Grief of Stones is the sequel for that. So when I read this, then I'm excited to read the second one. So the book that I really want to mention is a novella that wasn't in my most anticipated books of the year video because I sort of forgot that it was coming out. This is a novella published by Neon Hemlock Press, which has been putting out very interesting stuff during the past couple of years with very beautiful covers. So this one says to be a 1920s Gothic comedy where a bright young socialite Julia and shy Jewish magician Simon decide they aren't beholden to their family's unhappy history. Together they confront such horrors as murdered ghosts, alive children, magic philosophy, a milieu that slides far too easily into surrealist metaphor, and worst of all, serious adult conversation. And what I find really interesting about this is I think this is about like queer friendship, because I think one of the main characters is gay and one of them is lesbian. So I will be ordering this when I order some other books and reading this year. Then is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and you know it's None at the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. But if I want to say something different, this is a book that wasn't on my most anticipated books of the year list because I thought it was coming out in 2023, and I think it was first said that it will come out next year. But it's coming out this year, and that is Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Tupeko. I haven't read anything from them before, but this one is a vampire book, and it's about a vampire hunter and a vampire couple, and I think they sort of start a poly relationship in this book. It's an adult novel. I think Tupeko has done young adult before, but this one is an adult one. And I'm so excited because I thought it was coming out next year. So instead I'm gonna get it sooner, and it just sounds so good. I think it's about this vampire hunter who has been sent to kill one or both of those vampires and then gets entangled in them instead. The next question is the biggest disappointment. I haven't had a great disappointment this year. I might mention The Maid by Nita Prose, which is like this crime book that came out that was available from my library as an ebook, and I got it to sort of see why this was such a big release this year. I wouldn't say it was such a big disappointment. I really didn't like it, but I didn't have great expectations. I just wanted to check it out, and it wasn't my usual genre. And I found it was quite mismarketed because I didn't find it really to be a murder mystery. I found it to be more of a actiony crime thriller. So this is about a cleaner in a hotel who stumbles upon a body and becomes a murder suspect. And from the description and from the tagline, which was something like, "You don't see her, but she sees you." And that means to me that the main character is trying to solve the crime and sort of knows things from being a maid. But that couldn't be further from the truth. She didn't solve anything. There were things that we as a reader understood, but the main character didn't, so it wasn't what I was looking for. The next question is biggest surprise. And this is not like a surprise in a way that I didn't think I would love this book and then I loved it, but surprise in a way that this book became better while I was reading it. So it was surprise at the end how much I enjoyed it. This is The Root of Ice and Salt by Jose Luis Zarate. And this is a story of the ship that Dracula sailed with into London or into Britain. And it's about the captain of this ship. And it sort of consists of 3 parts. The first one is told from the captain's point of view, and the captain is gay and he's sort of really thinking about having sex with his crew members all the time. And it's about them getting some boxes that, contain Dracula to their ship and starting the journey. And I wasn't really into that. I thought I didn't really care for the writing style. Then the second part is like the ship's log. It's like diary entries of what happened. And then the last part is really like emotional, gritty description of what happened during the last days on that ship. And I think it was again from the captain's point of view, at least focused on the captain, and it was so good and I was so invested. So I really liked the third part of that book so much. That part had like beautiful imagery, metaphors. It had a resolution to things that the captain had been going through, and I thought it was a great ending. Next question is favorite new author, debut or new to you, and I'm gonna say C.L. Polk to this because I did read the whole Kingston cycle. So out of the new to me authors that I've tried this year, C.L. Polk was my favorite out of those. There's I think a novella coming out this year that I'm interested in, and then there's another novel that they have written, Midnight Bargain I think it's called, which I do want to read at some point, but it also covers some very hard-hitting topics that I don't think I want to read right now. So I'm waiting for their new release. The next is newest favorite character. I haven't really come across a character that's super struck me so far this year, but my favorite character out of the ones that I have read has been Umegat from The Curse of Chalion, who is like this head groom of the menagerie of the royal court. He plays a bigger part in the plot of the book, and he is from a different country than the rest of the people, so that's also interesting, and I really enjoyed his character. Next question is a book that made you cry, and I don't think I've cried so far over a book this year. And as well, the next question is book that made you happy. At least a book that made me laugh out loud. Alexandre Dumas makes me laugh. So I was reading the La Dame de Montsoreau, or She Called the Jester. This year I haven't finished with it yet, but that's been like really hilarious when I read it. Then there's the most beautiful book you bought or acquired this year, and I think that would be The Secret Skin by Wendy N. Wagner, which is a novella, again from Neon Hemlock. They are great with covers. And out of the ones that I have read from the library, I really enjoy the cover of Mexican Gothic, but out of the books that I bought, this is my favorite. I really like the red and dark blue and vivid blue together. And the cover illustration is by Bailey Rosenlund, and the cover design is by Dave Ring. And then the final question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And that is Test of the Twins. I want to finish my pre-read of the Dragonlance Legends, so this one, and then all the books that I showed in my reading goals video, where I had picked like 4 or 5 books that I want to read this year. So all of those. I have started one, City of Brass, but all of the rest of those I haven't started yet or read any of them, finished any of them yet. So all of those, even though I sort of gave myself permission to change them up a bit. So most of them are the first books in a fantasy series. So sort of if I instead start another book that I've owned for a while, a fantasy series I've been meaning to start, then I will allow myself to swap. But basically, those are the books that I need to read by the end of the year. I think that was all of the questions. There have been a couple of different questions during different years, but I also want to mention my favorite reread so far. So the first book in this trilogy, Time of the Twins. I had so much fun rereading it. It's a lot to do with nostalgia, but still, I had so much fun reading it. So that was once again my Media Book Freakout tag to celebrate my now 8 years on BookTube. Let me know in the comments what has been your favorite book that you have read so far this year, and I'll see you in my next video.